Disclaimer: this is not a racially niche channel. Everyone of any race is welcome here. I don't care what hair texture you have, what skin color you are. It doesn't matter what ethnicity or ancestry you have, what racial mix you are. It doesn't matter what facial features you have. It just doesn't matter. Everyone is welcome here. Disclaimer 2. I do not hate African American / Black women. I mean, I'm mostly African American myself. But this is something that really, truly needs to be talked about. And this has been a long time coming, so I need to talk about this because it's definitely time. From the age of maybe about 4 or 5 up until now, I'm 38, almost 39. I've had the most hatred thrown at me from people who look more like myself. Colorism, I cannot confirm or deny that it ever played a role because it's been from people that are lighter than me and darker than me. I'm going to get straight to the point. African American / Black women have been the most overflowingly insecure, meaning taking their insecurities out on others in nasty ways. Overflowingly insecure, jealous, envious, sabotaging, mean-spirited, bullying, betraying, competitive, at times toxic and aggressive, evil people that I have ever experienced in my life, have met in my life, and have observed in my life. And that's really sad to say because there are still a lot of very sweet, loving, genuine African American / Black women out there. But my experiences in this life, within my own family tree and outside of my family tree, have not been pleasant. It's almost, well, in some cases traumatizing. And I need to just share some of my experiences. And I have a purpose behind this, which I will get to, but I need to share the experiences now. So let's get right into it. With love. My name is Charrese. Welcome to my channel, Gracefully, Charrese. I'm just going to share a few experiences with you all. Right into it. As a child, I must have been about 5 years old, and this was my very first experience, at least to my remembrance, of an African American woman being hateful toward me and just being mean. I remember I looked up to this woman, and this is somebody who is in my family tree. And of course, when you're a child, you just kind of follow behind them. Sometimes if you look up to somebody, you want to be like them. And they always wore this body spray. And because they wore the body spray and I thought it smelled good, I wanted to impress them by trying it on. Mind you, I am like 5 years old or so. So I go into the room after spraying myself, and this person is talking. They stop talking because they smell their body spray, and they look at me and they say, "Did you put my body spray on?" And at that point, I'm like, okay, this person is not impressed. And so I just said, yeah. Again, I'm like 5. This grown woman looks at me and says, "Why did you put my body spray on? You stink putting on my body spray." Now, it might be a little comical and some things you can kind of laugh at later in life, but put yourself in my shoes as someone who is in like kindergarten. An adult that they looked up to actually is insulting you. She's insulting me. Now, I was in her care, so if I did stink, whose fault is that? Whose problem is that? I'm a child. I'm like in kindergarten. But getting to know this person over the years, I understand that this person is a narcissist. And narcissistic people can be very vengeful. And later on in life, she was. So she was being vengeful to a child. Fast forward. My cousins. There were males involved with this as well, but I had cousins who used to bully me. I was about 6.5. And they did not like me. I didn't do anything to them. I remember one day, 6.5, I was in the kitchen minding my own business, getting something to eat. I'm at the microwave and I hear footsteps behind me. There's one girl and one boy. I turn around and they're taller than me. They're looking down at me. They're African American as well. They back me up against a microwave. They look at me and they start making fun of my nose. Now, when I was a little girl, my nose used to go a little bit more upward. So they were saying mean things to me like, we can see up your nose, we can see your brains. But they cornered me as a child and started pointing in my face. So the physical thing stuck in my head, looking down at me, making fun of me, and trying to make me feel that as a child, as a 6.5-year-old child, something is wrong with my face. Something is wrong with your nose. Before then, I had no perception of features. When I looked at myself in the mirror, I just said, that's me. But after that moment, something was wrong with my face. And it was really, as a child, it did traumatize me for many years up into my 20s. I literally had to pray and ask God to please have me to see my nose for the way it really looks, for the way He created it, and for the way He sees it. I wanted to see me. I was a young child. I was a little girl. When you say things to children, it definitely can stick with them. And because it was said to me as a child, it created this illusion on my face where I thought my nose was much bigger than what it actually is. Yes, I have big nostrils, but hey, I can smell a fire before you could. And I'm not even an insecure person. I'm not judging anybody who is or condemning anybody who is, but I'm not even an insecure person. But this is one thing that I had become insecure about. Not anymore, because I see God answered that prayer and I see me, I see myself. I don't just zone in on my nose. I see my whole face for how it really looks. Some of your ancestors has the same African nose, yet you make fun of me for just being human and for having the nose that God gave me. This is my nose. Let me just say this. Sometimes people can be jealous or envious of you. And it doesn't always have to do with your looks. In this case, it did. But sometimes it's about maybe the love you're receiving, attention that you're receiving. And for them, it was all of the above. Later on, they would go on, this one and another girl in the family, to just pick on me, just find things. She's wearing too much makeup. Not one lick of makeup on my face. I don't wear foundation or powder, but they wanted to try to find something wrong, quote unquote wrong with me. There's nothing wrong with wearing makeup, but they just wanted to try to nitpick at something. And this is supposed to be family. Fast forward. Still in elementary school. Now in the neighborhood, there were a lot of African American / black girls who just did not like me, including a couple of adults that were just mean to me for I don't know what reason. What I learned is that in the African American / black community, some of the adults can actually be jealous and envious of little girls. They can be jealous if they see you as pretty, if they see you as having quote unquote good hair, jealous and or envious, or if they see your potential in life, if they think that one has talent, that one has skills, that one is gifted. Perhaps they didn't do the things that they wanted to do in life, so they will literally hate on a child. The girls and some of the women in the neighborhood didn't like me. They were very ostracizing. They would give me dirty looks. They would talk to each other, talk amongst each other, but they would ignore me. They would be friendly toward the other African American / black girls, but not toward me. Or they would just pretend. They can be standing right there, but they would pretend I didn't exist. Humbly speaking, I thank God that I was never someone who just really wanted to fit in. You know, I wasn't trying to be accepted by them. But you notice it though. I noticed it. But one day, the neighborhood girls, these were the ones that were not in my family tree. They knew where my bus was going to be dropping me off. I was going to be dropped off at one school, and then I was going to be walking home from that school. They were waiting for me at the midpoint between that school and my home. Thank God somebody, and by the way, let me make this clear. These girls were 2 and even 3 years older than me. They were taller than me right now at almost 39. I'm only 5 foot 3 inches, and I'm a very petite woman. So imagine how much smaller I was at the time in elementary school. So they were older than me, taller than me, just bigger in stature, respectfully said, just bigger than me. Some of them, most of them actually. And somebody caught wind of it, and I can't even remember who it was. I don't remember who it was. If you're watching this, thank you so much. They came to me and said, there's a bunch of girls. I'm just going to say it was at a community center. They're waiting for you at the community center, and they want to jump you. They want to beat you up. It's like, wait, what? Again, they didn't talk to me, acknowledge my existence, didn't like me. They gave me dirty looks. So therefore, I never spoke to them. I never held a conversation with them, and I never said anything bad about them behind their backs. However, they wanted to jump me. They also told a male family member, so thank God for that. I remember he came and he got me, and he walked with me home. They didn't do anything to me because there was a boy with me. However, I will never, ever, ever forget. There was a ringleader, by the way, the main one who didn't like me, who I assumed she lied to them about me. But I will never forget their faces. God will not allow me to remember, and I'm so thankful for that. He will not allow me to remember what they were saying to me, but I remember that they were saying bad words. But the faces of hatred, the faces of animosity, jealousy, and envy, the faces of, I just can't stand you, little girl. They were looking at me with such hate in their eyes, and they were yelling at me, and they just really wanted to get me. If that person had not known about this, and if they would not have told that male family member, I don't want to be too specific, they could have really hurt me. Or worse, because it's happened. They could have really hurt me. And for what? For what? No matter what your reason was, and by the way, I forgive you and everyone I'm mentioning in this video, there is never a reason to try to jump someone. Ever, period. And there's never a reason to dislike and even hate someone who's never done anything to you. But in the African American / Black community, sometimes there is a pack mentality. And when the leader of the pack doesn't like you, chances are most, if not all of them, will follow suit. And this has been my experience on more than one occasion. Now I'm going to give you a compilation of light moments before I get to the really heavy one. There was a time where I was out of town and I was at a mall. I was looking at a dress because I make clothing, as some of you may know. And I don't copy people's designs, but I get really curious and I don't just look at clothing, I examine them and I'm like, how does this sleeve, how did they attach the sleeve to the torso? How do you do that? And I was looking at a dress and I kid you not, it was like a scene from a movie. There was this African American, possibly mixed race girl who approaches me. Triangle formation. It was her and it was her 2 friends. They were they were definitely her followers. She comes up to me and she puts her hands on her hips and she said, I have that dress. And I'm like, I look around and I'm like, okay. And she's like, they have another dress like that in another color down at that store. I'm like, okay, thank you. At this time, I was around 18, 19 years old. By the way, I would handle things much differently now. But back then, I was a late reactor, and I'm still slightly a late reactor sometimes, but sometimes you're just shocked by the things that people do. You're just taken aback and you're like, wait, what? And she was mad because I didn't leave. And so she just stood there with the snooty look on her face that I can't really imitate, but it's kind of like. And she's still looking at me, waiting for me to move. But I'm like, I'm going to still look through these racks and still examine this dress. And then because I didn't leave, she just did. Just kind of turns, and her little followers turn and they follow her and they all walk away. There's room for both of us. We can both look beautiful in this dress. I don't even know you. We will probably never be at the same event in this dress. But it's that competitive nature. I see this competitive nature amongst African American Black women. It's just so competitive. I've seen people just bonding with each other over hating on another African American / Black girl or somebody who's mixed with African American. Online, they clearly don't even know each other, not following each other. I just pay attention to these things and they're just like, yeah, she's cute, but she doesn't look that young. Yeah, she's pretty. I don't think she looks young either. Just like, the only reason why she has a boyfriend is because she wears all that makeup and she has that wig on. But if she takes that wig off and that makeup off, like, why do you think that way? The reason why, if this young lady does have a boyfriend or a fiance or a husband, perhaps it's because he sees her as beautiful and she has a beautiful heart. And perhaps you need to fix your hearts. Perhaps your spirit is unattractive. But in order to make yourselves feel better, you have to bring someone else down. That's one of the saddest things in life. When somebody feels like, I must bring you down so that I can feel lifted up in this moment. I strongly suggest with love that you work on your self-esteem. Humble yourself, and perhaps the person that you're hating on, ask them for advice. Improve yourself, work on growing, and work on your heart, the condition of your heart, and on your heart posture, because then maybe you'll meet your husband. But in the meantime, work on yourself. Since we're on the topic of nasty attitudes and competitiveness, I have to insert this here. So for those of you that don't know, I sing and I've produced music and I've been played on radio. So I used to give my CDs to people and, I was just excited about everything. And so one day I'm at home and I'm an adult by now. I'm probably somewhere like around 30. And I'm minding my own business and I get a phone call from a male, a generation older than me in my family. He was involved with the woman and he was with her and one of her daughters. He calls me and says, Charrese, they broke your CD. I had given him a CD. I was like, wait, what? Now, please keep in mind, I have never ever held a conversation with any of these ladies, okay? I keep my distance from this family because they are known to be toxic and bullies. And I don't say that to be gossipy, it's just the truth. And we need to be wise about whom we choose to interact with and surround ourselves with, and who we allow in, with whom we allow into our personal spaces. But I'm still nice to people. I still said hello. The rare times I would see them. The daughter actually was one of the neighborhood girls that didn't like me. But since we are adults, I figure, hey, perhaps we can just move past that. Boy, I was wrong. So he calls me and says, they broke your CD. They are in the background, okay? Out of nowhere, yelling at me and telling me that's why we broke your CD, and just yelling things in the background. I couldn't hear everything, but they were definitely yelling at me and making fun of me. They then take the phone from him and they repeat it again. That's why we broke your CD. They're laughing at me, telling me you can't sing.
Every other week, someone has good news to share. God, what about me? Is what you quietly say to yourself while congratulating. It's not that you're mad, you're just feeling sad. You're not jealous, you are truly happy for them. God, what am I missing? Smiling outside, but inside you're surely crying. Lord, please tell me what to do. I've been here waiting. Am I cursed? Please save me. When will it be my day? You're questioning. Let me tell you that God, He loves you, and at the right time, the divine will happen in your life. The who, what, when, and where's will fall into place. You'll be alright. Don't go giving up. Gotta show and love. You can't receive what you're not prepared for. God's preparing you.
If you're wondering why I stayed on the phone for this, here's why. I actually was intrigued. Then I was absolutely fascinated by the fact that two grown women would verbally attack someone who has never held a conversation with them and who has actually been kind to them. I found it interesting. And the pack mentality strikes again. The fact that they have to gang up on someone to make fun of them, you're literally physically breaking something that was special to me and to this male family member. Why? Just why? Just such nasty attitudes. The next circumstance is this. I had made a new friend and I hung out with her in her crowd. So I was out with her and there was a man who approached me. He was interested in me, and in short, I kindly and respectfully, I kindly declined. I was seeing someone at the time, and of course I wasn't interested. And so he walks back to his crowd. Again, everything was respectful between us. He was nice, I was nice, and there were no issues. There was an African American woman who was hanging out with him, and she goes, "I don't know why you tried to talk to her anyways. She looks like a man." Excuse me, I've never seen this woman a day in my life. I didn't even look at her. And I had no issues. I was just in my own world. I thought she was in her own world. But to insult me, first of all, let me say this. I don't look like a man. I look like my daddy, but a very feminine version of my daddy, okay? But I was just like, why? I just don't understand why that would come out of her mouth. And the girls that were with me, they were just like, "Did you hear what she said?" And I was like, you know what? I'm used to it. I don't even care. I know I don't look like a man. And it did affect me in the light of here we go again. I suspect, and this is just my, suspicion, I think she was interested in him. And where I live, and it's not just where I live, but I'm just speaking of my town in this instance, where I live, there's not very many African American females here. So whenever I've noticed, I would be the only one in the room and somebody else would walk in, or if they're the only one and I arrive, it's oh, another black girl. And it has to be some type of a competition. It's just, we can both exist in this space in peace. And that's what I choose to do. If you want to compete, you're in that competition all by yourself. I'm carrying on with my life. Another circumstance is when I was at the mall. I was just walking through. I seen somebody that I had recognized. She's mixed with African American. And we ran into each other and I was like, "Oh, hi." I did give her a hug. She was with the man, so I'm not surprised by this at all. At all. But she looks at me and says, "Oh, I like your hair. You can't even tell it's not yours." And that's another thing that I notice in the African American community. When you see a woman with long hair, another African American / black girl has to point out it's not hers. It's fake. It's a weave. It's wig. Or if it is yours, they assume, oh, she has a weave or she has to have tracks. And then sometimes it becomes an argument between people. The obsession with hair in the African American black community has to stop. The jealousy and envy when they see another woman with long hair or with a curl pattern that, they desire to have but perhaps don't. It just has to stop. We're all different for a reason and we're all beautiful. There's no need to compete. And there's no need to point out, "Oh, that's not hers." It's you're in a hurry to say that's not her hair, especially when there is a male involved. Here's the thing. You feed into the very stereotypes that you don't like. When people say black women can't grow hair, and if you see a black woman with long hair and it's actually hers, and you say, "Oh, that's not her hair, that can't be her hair," or "She has to have a relaxer, that has to be weave," you're feeding into that very stereotype. Because we can have long hair. It's the same as saying in reverse, because she's black, because she's African American, she can't possibly have long hair, she can't possibly have healthy hair. Stop feeding into the stereotypes that you don't like. Job hunting. In my early 20s, I needed a job. I seen a store, it was a clothing store that had clothing in there that I really liked, and I thought to myself, I could see myself working here. There was an African American woman who was working there. So I went into the store, I had an application, it was filled out. I expressed to her, I was kind about it. I told her that I have my application, I would love to work here. I wanted to work in the store. And I'm just gonna show you what she did, okay? This is what she did. That's what she did. I'm literally standing there with a kind smile, hoping that she would be willing to give me an interview so I can work at this awesome store. And she says absolutely nothing, sizes me up, looks at my whole entirety, my outfit, everything, just with a dirty look on her face, takes my application. There was a space like under like the top of the desk where you can put papers in, and she just tossed it in there. Gave me another dirty look and just didn't even consider it. Now, I shared this with my cousin just in conversation, not trying to gossip or anything like that. I was just shocked by the experience. It was a male cousin. He was visiting from out of town. And he found her. He comes back to me and says, "Do you want that job?" And I'm like, well, I wanted it, but at that point I was like, I was thinking, I don't want to work with somebody like that. I believe she was the manager, actually. And he's like, well, she wants to give you an interview. He's like, if you want that job, you can get the interview. In short, something physical happened between them. And because of that, she now wanted to interview me so that I can get the job. I said, no, thank you. She did that for nothing. She's not going to use me to get close to someone else. I found that very saddening, and yeah, standards need to be raised. Yeah. There was a situation where I reconnected with someone that I used to be so close with. And long story short, she kind of expected me to be a catfish, I suppose. Because I used to play around with social media filters. I don't do that anymore. I choose not to. And so we were reconnecting online and over the phone, and we finally connected in person. And we were sitting across from each other at a lunch table, and she leans into my face and she's like, I don't take the Lord's name in vain, so I will not say what OMG stands for. I'll just say wow instead. So she leans in and says, "Wow, you don't have any pores. You look like a Snapchat filter." And she stayed just examining my face, trying to look for apparent pores. After that, she was literally looking for things. I would kind of see her scanning me. And one day we were walking at the mall, and she was just like, "Do you have a booty? Let me see." And then she leans back to see, and then she says, I guess she wanted me to kind of think wait, what is she thinking? At first I thought to myself, what is that supposed to mean? But then I remembered how I choose to move in life, And that is, I don't gather my confidence from other people's compliments or approval. I don't attach my self-esteem to other people's opinions, to their approval, to their compliments. I refuse to give anyone power over my confidence levels and over my self-esteem and over my joy and my happiness, my emotional well-being, over my mental health. I refuse to do that. So although I was thrown off, a little offended, and just kind of surprised that she would do that, I was really glad that she was really further showing me who she is. And yes, she continued to examine me. She noticed that I had a broken nail, and she also noticed that I had a burn mark from flat ironing my hair. And she's like, yeah, I noticed that. She was looking for things to be quote unquote wrong with me. I never said I was perfect. And we all have something like scars or marks, and why does it have to be considered a flaw? And why are you so obsessed with trying to find something that you deem as unattractive to you? And I know this because she's also the same person that had said one day, I can't stand to see people with acne. So I decided she's not the friend for me. I can't hang out with people who are so obsessed with physical appearances. And not only that, they will cause that obsession to spill over into your life. And I can't have anybody around me that would try to affect my self-esteem or my confidence. So I had to reevaluate things, and I decided, long story short, there's more to the story, but long story short, this is not the type of connection that I want to have in my life. Or I'm very future minded. One day I will be a mother. I don't want that type of an attitude around my children either. The African American / black women or girls at the time that I did befriend, they all turned on me. And every time it was over attention, whether it was how they viewed my physical appearance, whether it was over a guy, or whether it was just over attention in general. Like, why do people give you attention? And so one of them, because this is what jealous and envious people do sometimes, they don't like the attention that you're getting, so they don't even want other people because they think highly of you. Okay, let me make that very clear. They think highly of you, but they don't want other people to think highly of you either because they're tired of hearing the good things about you. So what they will do is they will lie to people. They will turn other people against you, or rather they will try to do so. And one of these people conducted a smear campaign against me. But before they did that, they tried to set me up. They placed me before it was a group of leaders, and I'll just leave it at that. And they tried to make me look bad, and this plan totally backfired very quickly, and they ended up looking bad. And after that, I guess because that plan didn't work, they conducted a smear campaign against me, and I noticed that the people that were around them, when they would see me, they would no longer say hello. A couple of them accused me of doing something that I didn't do, just of being mean, and it wasn't true. That was straightened out. She clearly told them that they couldn't talk to me. Knowing how narcissistic and bossy and controlling she was at the time, I don't know how she is now. I can almost guarantee you she said you better not even look at her, because she was very controlling. I didn't let her control me, and I will get to that in a moment, which is a huge reason why the friendship just didn't last. But none of them would even acknowledge my existence all of a sudden. And you can see that there was this look on their face where like they didn't have permission, or like I was the enemy. And that's something that I noticed. In order to fit in with some of these girls and women, you have to allow them to, you have to be subject to them. You have to allow them to boss you around, to control you or your life, or be very overly involved, like there's no boundaries. They had to be like a leader. You had to be subject to them. You had to let them bully you. And I wasn't going for that. It's that pack mentality again. This is a perfect time to insert the following. Stop trying to fit in with, or change yourself for, or be accepted by people. Always be yourself. In addition, it is okay to not be placed in some stereotypical African American / black box. You are beautifully human. Family. How about the time that I simply walked by? That's literally all I did. And I had just come from the hair salon, and someone, like 2 generations my senior, says she thinks she's white or Mexican. Why? Because my hair is healthy? I remember there was a breeze that day, and I was walking by, and when you get your hair done at a salon, it's bouncy and healthy. I don't say that to be arrogant, it's just the truth. Bouncy, healthy, and shiny. And because of that, I think I'm white or Mexican? That doesn't make sense. Nothing against white or Mexican people, I love everyone. But that doesn't make sense. Or the time that I was accused of having a relaxer, and when I said that I didn't have a relaxer, this person in my quote-unquote family waited until I left and asked somebody else, does she have a relaxer? They thought I was lying. They said I was lying. And the person said, no, that's her hair. I just flat ironed it. Why does it matter? What is the obsession with one another's hair? How about the time that one of my cousins, she just, ever since we were children, she didn't like me. The very first moment we're in elementary school, I was introduced to her like, hey, this is your cousin Charrese. She stuck her tongue at me and then hid behind somebody's leg. I thought we would grow out of it, and clearly she didn't. Someone else in the family said, hey, why don't you take her to your room and show her your new computer? Because I was a guest, I was in town, I was visiting. And then she rolls her eyes and says, oh, come on. Now, me today, I would have been like, no, thank you. I don't want to entertain somebody who doesn't want to be entertained by me. I don't want you to do something reluctantly. I know my worth, I know my value. No, thank you. But she had an attitude the whole time. And then when the same person, it was somebody that was a generation older than us, said, why don't you take her to the party you're going to? She looked at her like, why are you telling her about the party? And what she said was, she waited until I walked away. But she said, I don't want to take her to the party with me because she's too cute and I don't feel like fighting. Clearly, in this case, birds of a feather were flocking together. The fact that you know your crowd and you know that this crowd will fight somebody for being cute tells me that this is how you are as well. If you see somebody as being cute or cuter than you don't like them. So I was not invited to that party, but I don't care. I had one relative who, I've told this before, but they got mad at my hair. They were constantly competing with me, and they still do, over hair, because the texture of my hair. This is my hair, and I have some, like one clip-in piece added. And one day I was sitting down, and suddenly I hear, ah! And I feel a bunch of commotion on top of my head. And this person is doing that. I turn around, and they're doing this to my hair, purposely messing up my hair. I just got it done, and it looked like they were trying to wind my hair up, like they were going to pull my hair, but they just didn't. I don't know. I think they possibly were going to. And it was the most unexpected, random, just wildest moment between us two. And I thought to myself, what on earth is happening here? I just looked at her. I was like, okay. And she looks down, kind of like off to the side, and awkward laugh. And it's like she couldn't look at me. And we never spoke about that moment. But there's always been this little competition, them trying to get things before me, trying to get things if they know that I couldn't get it, and then trying to show things off. And I was never jealous or envious. I just found it annoying, but funny, comical at times. So, I'm going to talk about a toxic family, narcissistic family system, very vaguely and briefly. They're just relatives. I will state this again. I've stated this a couple times before, but relatives are related to you by law and by DNA. Family, they don't have to be related to you. You can choose your family. These are the people that love you, that respect you, that support you, who care about you. And even when they have to correct you, they don't disrespect you. They don't speak to you condescendingly. They tell you the truth in love. Okay, so that's family. There's one person who was a couple generations older than me, got mad at me and blamed me for one of my family members' death. I was a kid still. I was a kid, and they told me, you're the reason why so-and-so died, because you stress me out. In the narcissistic family system and in a lot of Black households, you are not allowed to stand up for yourself or defend yourself or tell an inconvenient truth, especially when it comes to elders, or else you are deemed disrespectful. You are expected to just take it. You are expected to sweep things under the rug and not tell anyone. This is a form of abuse. So they made that person's health conditions about themselves. And they blamed me because they were mad at me. Did they apologize? Yes. And I did forgive them. I forgive everyone. But I never looked at them the same. Now I'm going to move on to the final situation, which is the heavier one. Finally, this is the worst. Imagine, quote unquote, going to sleep. Waking up. You just get up to go to the restroom. And you see yourself down the hall into the mirror from afar. And you're almost bald. You went to sleep with hair. Healthy hair. And you wake up and almost all of your hair is gone. That's what happened to me. Almost the entirety of my hair was 1 inch to, in some parts, less than an inch short, because I can't say long. I look at myself from afar and I say, oh no, just like that. Very monotoned. I feel like in that moment God was comforting me, but I also feel like I was possibly disoriented. This person has done other things as well. Evil things. But to wake up and mysteriously just have almost no hair, 99% of your hair is gone. And to make matters worse, my hair was nowhere to be found. It was not on my pillow. It was not in my bed or on the floor. It was just gone. Imagine how traumatic of a situation that is. But I did not cry. In that moment, I did not cry. I just started wearing wigs, kept my pretty, kept my beauty, walked with my head held high, did my photo shoots. And I still felt beautiful because they can't win. And guess what? It grew back longer and healthier than it was before it was mysteriously removed. This person has also tried to find interesting ways to sabotage different areas of my life. You can't take from me the purpose that God has given to me. He's always comforted me and He's always had me to bounce back. And whatever is meant for me, including my hair, my purpose, and humbly said my beauty, inner and outer, everything that belongs to me is mine. This is how it can be in my quote-unquote family amongst my relatives. They hang out with each other. They invite each other places, but not me. That's okay, because I strongly believe that God is blessing me with my own family. And honestly, quite honestly, I'm very thankful for the experiences because I know who to protect my children from. And I know how to raise them and how not to raise them. And my children will be loving. I will raise my children to be loving and accepting of and respectful toward everyone, no matter what color they are, what hair texture they have, where they're from, what mix they are. It just doesn't matter. They're going to treat humans like humans. And I'm going to love on them so much. So there's a blessing. I can find a blessing in it all. And I found blessings, multiple blessings, including a testimony in it all. And I thank God for that. This is how I feel. If you were to put me in a room filled with African American / Black women, would I lose my confidence? Absolutely not. But if you were to put me in a room filled with African American / Black women, would I feel comfortable? Absolutely not. I feel this way because of years of mistreatment, of hatred, betrayals, attempts at physical attacks, a physical attack. But I also understand this. There are a lot of beautiful, genuine, awesome African American / Black women in this world. Some that have good hearts. I know that you're out there. And I've met some myself. I would be in that room and I would feel, wow, what a beautiful room. All these beautiful shades and colors and undertones and hair textures and facial features and just all these differences. All this talent, these skills, the entrepreneurship, the innovation, the talents, the potential, the success, the future success, the beauty. But I would also feel like I'm not comfortable here because I've been treated like you're not one of us. I've been treated like, we don't like you because you trigger our insecurities. I've been treated in such mean-spirited and absolutely evil ways. African American / Black women, do better. We all need to do better in life. But please, there's room for everyone. There's no need to compete. I've said this before and I will say this again. And this is something that you should keep with you. I don't participate in competitions in life. The only competition that I participate in is being a better me than I was yesterday. There's room for both of us. There's room for all of you, for all of us. There's room for you and that person that you feel triggered by. There's room for both you and that person that you feel jealous of or that you feel envious of. You don't need to feel inferior. And you also don't need to feel superior. We are all equals, all of us. Ladies, there is room for us all. How come we both can't be beautiful? How come we both can't be lovely? How come we both can't have a good heart? How come we both can't be talented and skilled and gifted? How come we both can't have potential? How come we both can't be successful in life? How come we cannot just root for each other and support each other? And if for whatever reason we can't support what, the other person is doing, how come we just can't let it be? Respectfully agree to disagree and move on. And still just love each other anyway. We're not always going to agree upon things in this life. That's why I'm saying this. But the least we could do, at least, we can respect each other and love each other. And I'm going to say this again, but more thoroughly. Instead of wasting your precious time in this life, hating on another woman of any race, okay? Doesn't matter. You should be wisely spending your time growing, flourishing, nurturing your femininity, working toward your goals, and having a humble and loving heart, learning how to have that, growing in that if you already have, just growing, becoming more loving and more humble. You could be wisely spending your time asking that very person that you feel jealous of, that you feel envious of, for whatever reason, asking that person, hey, who's your hairstylist? Or what school did you go to? Or what training did you have to do in order to get the job that you have? What were the steps to get to where you are? That's productive. That's wise. Okay? You don't have to see me or anyone else as the enemy. Sometimes we as humans, we can be our own enemies. And some of you are not only making yourselves enemies to others, especially like innocent bystanders, but you have become your own enemy. You're stagnating your own growth. You are blocking your own opportunities. You're diminishing yourself. You're devaluing yourself. And above all, some of you are blocking your blessings. You're blocking your blessings. And you're wondering why. How come this hasn't happened for me? How come that hasn't happened? How come I don't have this or that? You're blocking your blessings because of the way you're treating people. African American / Black women, I love you. And God, He loves you more. Please, do better. Do better. So I'm going to wrap this up by saying this. I do forgive everyone. I've moved on with my life. I'm not stuck on anything. But testimonies, they're meant to be shared. Everyone has a story, and I believe that we can help each other out in this life. If this video reaches at least one person, and you don't even have to be African American or mixed with African American to relate to this, but if it reaches at least one person who has received hate and attacks and just mean-spirited things from people who look like them, from people within their own race, their own ethnicity, within their own people groups, even tribes. And one person who has perhaps been the attacker, has been the person who has been mean or hateful, then purpose is served. And I'm grateful, humbly. And I give glory to God. Again, I just ask that everyone, because there's so much division already in this world, is respectful toward each other in the comment sections, please. Please. Thank you for watching. Okay, I'm gonna go eat. I'm hungry. It is 117 degrees today. It's supposed to be like 119 or 120 tomorrow or within the next couple of days. I'm hungry and I'm tired. I just came in like right before filming this video. So yeah, I gotta go. So until next time, do all things in love and gracefully. Goodbye. Oh, my goodness.